It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, welcome back. It is a special edition of the unofficial 40 podcast. It is the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl preview edition, a little shortened edition of the unofficial 40, but we thought we'd put together a special show for you here before the Sooners get ready to kick off tomorrow against LSU. The final joint head coaches press conference was this morning. We are now joined by our Atlanta correspondents, Eddie Radosevich and Bob Brisbillo, who were at the press conference. Hopefully, continuing the tradition of what this press conference is all about, being completely
bingo.
hungover. Yes.
Oh no, playing bingo. I'm sorry,
yeah.
that's the other tradition.
We put together a bingo card of stupid things that would be asked at this press conference, and let me tell you, 15 minutes in, I almost yelled bingo.
Was the dumbest the Atlanta voice? Those questions were wow. I mean, that was
yes.
Was that who asked about the Georgia State practicing over there?
Field?
That might have
and the 2004 Sugar Bowl.
That might as well have been the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce asking those questions.
Carrie, let me start before we really get into all of this by wishing our cohort here, Bob Brisbillo, a happy birthday.
Oh,
thank you!
Wow,
thank you,
man. I'm surprised that
we're going
still
out.
Works
I'm taking
us.
I'm taking him on tour day Atlanta strip clubs tonight.
Gold Club, let's go.
Is Scores? That's New York, right? Is that the big strip club in New York?
I don't know.
They might have one here. It is New York, but
It's
they
called
might
Scores?
have one. Yes.
I don't even know that.
That's what the movie Hustlers was actually based on.
Okay.
Was Scores.
I gotcha.
Well, this is momentous. I mean, you've missed Pearl's first birthday or first Christmas, and now she's missing your birthday. So
indeed,
kind of have to wonder if she loves the guy. She didn't even fly out here. Hasn't even called you.
When do you just have to drag him away from FaceTime every time you guys need to go to practice or to a press conference or to a media event?
No, we've been good. I've been joining in on the FaceTimes. I'm part of the Brisbillo family now.
Did you Netflix?
Just
Uncle Eddie!
Walking around in my boxers.
Uncle Eddie!
Has it gotten awkward when he and the missus have Netflixed and chilled while you've been in the room? Hey, honey, season 2 of You is out. We need to watch it.
That is priority viewing as soon as I get home. Thank you.
Are you a big you? Are you a you?
Yes.
That's a really good YouTube series. It's well. I don't know if you. Yeah, it probably makes me sound like a psycho if I say that's a really good series.
Right?
I love you. You do? Well, we're never getting together.
Don't ever come near me again.
Yes, exactly. So anyway, you have the press conference this morning, which you never have high expectations for it. I don't really know how I felt about Lincoln Riley or Ed Orgeron being asked about the 2004 Sugar Bowl between LSU. Somebody should have just asked, like, let me ask you something. Do you think that Tim Tebow would have been the best quarterback in the Big 12 in 2008? Why not just throw that out there while we're at it? Because that started a shitstorm like no other back when I was covering that.
The other gem of the morning, of course, was what advantages do your teams have?
Yeah, what are they supposed to say to that? You could tell Lincoln got really uncomfortable, couldn't you?
Well, it was super uncomfortable just being there. It just blows my mind sometimes what some people I think are just asking questions to be asking questions, and we've always known that. But, Carrie, it's been an interesting week as far as
we do need to go back to Thursday. Thursday was an actual real
yeah, like the media day stuff, and I know that we've all talked about it in the group text and all that, but I can't remember a time, and Carrie, that you were in Miami for the OU USC game. I think John Hoover kind of related it to that, as far as I can't remember a time that a team just walked in and basically said, Oklahoma's lucky to be here. We're going to beat their ass. And that's more or less paraphrasing, that's kind of the gist of the message of what LSU was pushing across yesterday.
Yeah, like after going the first couple of days of being nice, the gloves came off yesterday.
That was what was it. And I'll tell you this, the OU USC game, Larry Burdine's comments about Reggie
Did he
Bush,
start that kind of?
Yeah, he was the one that started that, and it happened back in Norman. So it was like they had a media day locally before they ever came out to Miami.
Okay.
And I was standing there as Bird was saying this, and my first thought was, and I stood there for a long time, and he just kept repeating it over and over again. And after he went for about 10 minutes, I walked by Kenny Mossman, who's the sports information director, and I was like, "You've got a problem on your hands over there." And he looked at me, he gave me a look of horror, and he was like, I just said, it's too late to fix it. And so then, as J.D. Runnels told me the story, Bob Stoops came screaming down to the locker room and got right up in his face and started screaming at him after he found out what he said. And maybe this was when it appeared in the papers the next day. But Bob Stoops just started screaming at him, "You're not even a starter!" So he was not happy. I'm sure Ed Orgeron was not happy because, guys, they've gone through, like you said, the first of the week, they went through great pains to do nothing but compliment this Oklahoma team, both offensively and defensively.
Yeah. And that's why I was a little taken aback by it, just as far as...
And it was the guys who have talked.
Yeah.
You know, Patrick Queen, Jamar Chase, they've already talked, and it's almost like, I can't do it anymore. I can't fake it. Here are my true feelings.
I will say, though, that I think really feel.
A little bit of it, I think, was taken out of context.
A little.
It wasn't as bad as it.
About the offensive line's not that great. The running backs or the offensive line is just only good. The backs are just good.
Yeah, he thinks they're better, and I mean that would be. It'd be wrong of him to not think that.
But what would we be?
What
would we be as a society if we didn't blow everything out of proportion, though?
No, that's exactly what this is for. That's what social media is for. That's what we're here for. That's why we're talking about it.
Now, would you say the Jamar Chase comments about the secondary that was more incendiary?
I would.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure. I mean, basically calling Oklahoma's best cornerback slow was a little shocking. But it just kind of adds fuel to the fire. This whole idea and this narrative that's out there that Oklahoma's just kind of lucky to be here.
I really like he hopes Motley is physical with him. So he wants him to put his hands on him so then he can feel them. That, to me, was the money quote.
Yeah, and I thought Motley did a pretty good job of controlling himself by the way you described it. And we all know he is a guy that talks a lot of shit on the field. And that is... Here's my, I don't want to see this thing happen. And Eddie, you're going to be there with your camera. We'll be probably streaming, some of the pregame live up until 45 minutes of kickoff. So you'll be front and center. Everyone will be able to watch on Sooner Scoop exactly, what kind of interactions there might be. And remember, going back to that, the OU Clemson game, the first time they came to the playoffs, there was an altercation between teams, and depending on who you talk to, I talked to several different people, and
I don't remember that one.
And there was, they were both getting on a bus, on their buses, respective buses, and apparently Charles Tapper got into it with, I don't know if it was Wilkins or somebody tried to come on their bus.
The bus started rocking back and forth, Gary.
Yeah.
The bus started rocking. That's when everybody thought, OU's winning this game. OU's winning this game.
They're not going to back down from this Clemson team. No,
that was like the biggest overreaction of all time.
But then
myself included, I was a part of it.
There were some skirmishes on the field before that game started during pregame warm-ups, though.
Yeah, no, there was.
So I think you're headed for some. And I just, you know what? Here's my only. I'm not a coach. I'm not making a demand. Well, I am. I shouldn't. And no one has to listen to me, but I hope that Justin Broyles does not go back to Texas Justin Broyles, where he's just talking shit left and right. Justin, you haven't proven anything on the field yet. Let's see if
you
you
don't
can.
get to.
Let's see if you can fill in for Delarian Turner-Yell before you start talking shit to the Biletnikoff Award winner. Okay.
But don't you think that that goes against every idea that is out there as far as what Oklahoma's presented, as far as it's kind of like this Jalen Hurts, don't say much, we're going to just show you on the field type thing. Like, Oklahoma, to an extent, has not been that team this year that mixes it up before a game. In fact, I can't remember.
No, you're right.
Outside of Texas.
Yeah.
Where everyone got the unsportsmanlike.
Right. That was more Mike DeFee and just being a douchebag than anything. But I think that's kind of the way that they presented themselves. And even, like, Kenneth Murray and a bunch of those guys, even Motley was asked yesterday about the comments because LSU was up first yesterday at the media day.
People wanted the money quote in response, and they just wouldn't give it to him.
They wouldn't give it to him. And I think that Kenneth Murray basically didn't even say anything when he was asked about it. He kind of like sat back in his chair and smirked and said something like, "We'll see" or something. It wasn't.
We'll see Saturday.
It wasn't a shot fired back. And I think that that kind of is the identity of this team as far as from day one. Jalen Hurts is. I don't know what it was, but he earned the respect of that locker room from day one, and his attitude and the way that he carries himself certainly has been kind of what Oklahoma has taken on. And that's not just this week. That's the entire season.
But can Motley handle himself in the moment tomorrow?
Yeah,
sure.
That's a good
we're talking about he got kicked out of a game.
And that's when they lost.
Sure.
Not a coincidence that when he lost his cool, OU lost. So if Chase starts yapping, if he makes a play or two, how does Motley bounce back? Now, you look at Motley's last couple games: 2 forced fumbles, 1 recovery, the interception, holding Mims without a catch. I mean, he's coming in with all-time high in terms of his confidence level. So you hope that for one more game he can keep it together.
Well, and that kind of was another thing that came up today about people asking Lincoln Riley, what does it mean that you've been here before? That was the first time. That whole Clemson, scrapping and all that stuff, talking smack, all that. Like, that was OU's first trip to the playoff, and this is LSU, a team that hasn't been here. You wonder, are they going to end up learning a lesson out of this deal? Because they just, it started out early in the week. From everything that, we were watching and you guys were sending back, I was thinking to myself, like, wow, LSU's really got their heads on straight. They're doing this the right way. They're playing it by the book. They're ready for this. And I'm sorry, once you come out and you start talking trash, it makes me question how much you have, a confidence issue. How much you need to do that in order to try and convince yourself that you are that much better than this team. So now I'm sitting here wondering, does LSU have a confidence problem? Because let's face it, that OU team that was out there barking at other teams every year, they sucked.
Yep.
I think that's why it got under everybody's skin, was the fact that
they had their shirts off and warm up.
You have a historic
don't even start
offense.
the shirts off. I thought I was done being triggered by that.
It's just unbelievable. I do think that, in a way, maybe it's because they're not in this position very often. I think Oklahoma is kind of enjoying being the underdog, being the team that nobody expects much from. I talked to Trey Brown yesterday about it, and, he basically said, it's like, this is even for the fan base, this is a weird role that Oklahoma's playing this week. They're not usually. When was the last time Oklahoma was a 14-point underdog in a game? I honestly can't remember.
They weren't even an underdog in the Big 12 championship to Baylor. So,
I mean,
they weren't an underdog a year ago after they'd lost to Texas, were they, in the Big 12 championship?
I would doubt it. You would think the last time would maybe be at
it'd be Alabama,
Ohio State.
Well,
but it wouldn't be.
No, I'm talking double digits.
But it wouldn't be double digits. It would be the Sugar Bowl, right? Against Bama.
Probably so.
I think they were double digits to Alabama last year in the Orange Bowl.
You might be right.
I can't remember.
I think that was 14.
I thought Alabama was like a 2-point favorite or something.
I thought it was 14. I don't know.
You might be right, because there could have been OU fans. See, we didn't let them cover the spread. It was only by
And I seem to remember that sentiment that, well, at least we covered.
That sounds right, actually.
But yeah, I mean, it is odd.
Yeah, Bama was a 14-point favorite.
Okay.
It's odd for the fans. It's odd for the players. But at the same time, it's got to be nice for Lincoln Riley to have that motivation for once.
Oh yeah, and you're lying to yourself if you don't think that for the last 3 weeks this team it's been pounded in their head that basically nobody thinks that they deserve to be here.
It's a 3-team invitational, and they just had to tack on a 4th one.
Shit, it's been like that the entire year. I mean, with all the little Joey Morris stuff and the Joey Galloway stuff and Jonathan Vilma. I mean, that stuff was happening during the end of the season, let alone for the last 3 weeks.
Did you call Jim Mora Joey Mora?
Yeah,
you combined them.
I'm calling him Little Joey Moore now.
He's a super villain.
He doesn't get to be called his real name.
What about JoJo Mora? How about that?
Did you see what Joey Galloway has picked?
Yeah,
for this
66 to 64, the final. LSU.
I love that man. He's the gift that keeps on giving.
Jesus Christ, that's unbelievable. I don't ever think I've dropped a JC on a pod. I'm probably going to hear about that one from the GDers.
I'll pray for you.
I know. I need it. But here's the other thing, guys, that I find really fascinating watching from afar is LSU, not fascination, but the respect level that they show for Jalen Hurts when I think all OU fans are sitting there going, yeah, we've got better players than him. You guys are worried about him, but he's not the best player on our team.
I think it's funny that you talked to, and we were talking about this at dinner last night, as far as there's some of the SEC media out here, or just the national guys, that it's like the storyline for them is Jalen Hurts has carried this team into the college football playoff, when in reality, that is so far from the fact. If you watched Oklahoma
ragtag bunch of youngsters.
It really is it not though, Bob? I'm serious. Like it's kind of mind blowing the way that Oklahoma is viewed from certain aspects, as far as you look at that, and it's kind of funny that we say that, and in reality, I think if Oklahoma wins this game, Jalen Hurts has to be the guy that carries them along the way.
Well, you can't mess it up. I mean, we talked about it before. He's got to play perfect. But yeah, I mean, when you look at what this season been, it's almost like because he played at Alabama, he had to be the reason. Because Alabama's always beaten LSU, and Jalen Hurts has always beaten LSU. So there's no way that it had to be the other parts. It had to be Jalen that made sure OU got to this point. There's no doubt that's been a popular narrative from people who haven't covered the team.
Well, and I think the most fascinating thing this week for me has been what happened last night, and that is the Thunder were getting blown out. I decided, I know that the SEC media or the SEC network was broadcasting. They had Alex Grinch on their set. So I'm going to turn it over to the SEC network and see if they have any of their media day coverage on there. And so what they did have was LSU playing Ole Miss. And so I watched it. And I watched most of the second half. And I sat there as their quarterback ran for 4 touchdowns and 200 yards on the ground. And they rolled up 400 yards rushing total and just ran right through that Alabama team. And that game happened the same night that OU played Baylor. It wasn't like some early season game. Like, LSU has recently looked like shit on defense. I mean, all we heard was, you would always say, and I think it's just people, you get these people that feel like they know college football, and then you try and say something that is correct, but then they haven't paid any attention. And so you get an answer like, oh, well, LSU's got great athletes, and they're really starting to put it together late in the season.
Yep. That's been the narrative.
That happens all the time. You're like, wait a minute. Like, did you see the last 4 games that they played and who they played them against and what type of offenses they played against? And I sat and watched that Ole Miss game. They looked terrible on defense. I mean, like, outright laughable. And that was a month ago.
And that's why I think it's funny that, everybody's talked about this turnaround for LSU defensively. And we talked about it on the Unofficial on Wednesday, just as far as those 3 teams that they played are bad football teams.
Yeah. Or at least bad offense.
Arkansas, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M. I mean, Kellen Mond can barely complete a forward pass, let alone move the ball.
Yeah,
against...
you want to talk about regression.
And I'm not saying that LSU's just terrible.
No,
I don't.
They're
think
not.
They're nowhere close to where Oklahoma was a year ago. But I think Oklahoma can find some success on the ground. Like, I do think that they can find some success against them, and I'm particularly interested to see how much or how often do they take some shots early. And I think that, you almost have to – maybe it's just the way that something in the air at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, but Jalen Hurts plays well at that stadium. I don't know what it is, but he has played well, and maybe you take some shots early and see if you can get something going, build his confidence up. But, I mean, Carrie, do you think that they're going to just try and run Jalen Hurts 25 times on Saturday?
Well, if you watch that Ole Miss game, you hope that they do.
Why not? Ed O was asked about that this morning, and, Aranda talked about it on, Tuesday. Just as far as it seemed like they basically, the kind of the gist of the matter is they didn't expect that to happen. They didn't think that Plumlee could do that, and all of a sudden you look up and he had 300 yards.
It was crazy. I mean, it was just constant, and it was, LSU. I mean, you look at that score, and it was 14. It was a 14-point game, and Ole Miss had the ball like within 5 minutes left in the game, and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire broke like an 80-yard run, like at the very end with like a minute left to give him that big lead. But and they were up big in the first half, so I understand there's a letdown to it, but it's just the fact that if you think that LSU is bringing that same defense that they had when they had the rematch with Alabama in the national championship, you're sadly mistaken. It's a team with some really good athletes and some great secondary players, but up front they're not the standard. They're not that just a shade below Alabama or a shade right next to Alabama. They're not a dominant defensive front.
No, not. They just don't have those guys. They don't have a Quinnen Williams.
Yeah,
that can change a game.
They're not Auburn's defensive front either.
No, they don't have 2 dudes like that for sure.
And after talking with Kennedy Brooks, I don't know if he's just playing coy or the way he talked about TJ Pledger, maybe Pledger's going to play a bigger role than I thought.
Everybody raves about Pledger, don't they?
They really do.
Well, the guy was a highly ranked player coming out of high school. He just hasn't had a chance. I thought it was Lincoln Riley basically compared him to Rodney Anderson.
Yeah.
On Tuesday.
Well, and I think we've all seen, and fans have noticed this too. For whatever reason, people always kick it to Trey Brown on kickoffs. When they've kicked it to TJ Pledger, he's had some nice returns, but he's had some penalties that have, kept him from having bigger runs. But every time I've seen him run the ball on a kickoff return, it's been pretty good.
It's just
outside of when he fumbled against Kansas State and cost Oklahoma the game.
Nice.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
We can blame it on him.
That was a short, weird kick where he had to run up real fast.
It was. Yeah, it was.
So, but to me, that is, I don't give 2 bleeps about the backup running back in this one. Kennedy Brooks and Jalen Hurts are going to, I think, carry the bulk of the carries. I really want to know how effective CeeDee Lamb is going to be against this secondary. If
Stingley shuts him down,
then you put Theo Wease in there because Theo Wease destroys Stingley.
In Mercedes-Benz.
Yes!
We know it can happen.
In Mercedes-Benz.
We know it can happen.
Theo Wease destroys and dominates Derek Stingley Jr. You know Theo Wease is going to be out there.
We've got the video.
You know Theo Wease is going to be out there talking some shit to Stingley before that game starts.
Oh, it's going to be good. Maybe I'll throw that out. Maybe we need to throw that GIF out there and see if Wease will retweet
Let's
it. Let's
get that video.
Fire.
Let's get the video from that. And start. It'll go right along with the Venom package. What should we call Weeze? We'll call him the Badger package. That'd be kind of a knock on LSU.
Let me think about it. We can announce something on the board. We can get something going.
Where
You
they
can't put it on
know
Twitter first.
it's a package that Lincoln Riley is going to make where he knows Theo Wease is going to get one-on-one coverage with Derek Stingley.
Some breaking news out of the college football world. Poor source, Bishop Gorman grad and Ohio State backup Tate Martell will be transferring from the University of Miami.
By the way,
Is this legit, or are you just saying?
How lucky is what a bullet dodged by Jalen Hurts when they took him to Prime
kidding.
112 with Dan Enos, the former Alabama offensive
Who is
coordinator.
without a job as of this morning as well.
They're closing the deal. They're at Prime 112. He won't be able to say no. Good on you, Jalen Hurts.
So bad.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of when I saw Dan Enos was fired. I thought Prime 112, Jalen Hurts, recruiting visit.
Didn't he leave? Like, he cleared out his office at Alabama, like, during the middle of the night.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's so weird how
That
that
is the
worked
story.
out.
Well, I mean, Loxley did a bang-up job at Maryland this year, too.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Saban, he got some shit assistants in there for a while.
No, he runs the show. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Sometimes that happens to you. I mean, when you become the staff that is the place everyone wants to go to get a job, eventually you're going to make a hire that's not so great when you're making them every year.
And it feels like they get burnt out within a year or two, too. They're out.
I think everybody. That's kind of the way that Saban has operated for years, isn't it? Do you guys get wrapped up in the matchups of the assistant coaches in this game, just as far as Lincoln Riley versus Aranda, Alex Grinch versus the duo of Joe Brady and Ensminger? I kind of think it's fascinating to look at what kind of. I don't think they're going to make wholesale changes, but I do kind of think it's going to be interesting to see what kind of things they've added over the last 3 weeks to prepare for a game. It's kind of unique in that sense, as far as you can probably throw some different looks out there. They've known that Ronnie Perkins isn't going to be available. So, we talked to LaRon Stokes yesterday. He said that he expects to be on the field at the same time with Jalen Redmond. Do they give different looks as far as different blitzes and things? Can they mix things up? I'm kind of interested to see what kind of, mix and match they try to throw out there.
And how many snaps can you give a guy like Marcus Stripling? That's what I'm kind of wondering. And how effective can he be with those reps?
Sure.
Yeah, Stripling, Isaiah Thomas, it's clear they're going to have to rely on those guys to give Stokes and Redmond a breather. And if there's any sort of drop-off, that's when you're going to see it. And how detrimental is that going to be if those guys can't stay up to the same level of performance that you would expect from Stokes and Redmond throughout the game?
I don't know why Lincoln Riley, I don't know if he gets lost in the BS sometimes. I don't know why he even gave the hint that Delarian Turner-Yell might be available on day one.
That was
because
good.
Yesterday, Delarian Turner-Yell was just basically like, I hope they play well without me. I'm really trying to help as much as I can.
And he's admitting he's missing the spring.
Yeah. So,
which I think is kind of big long term for that, just from the depth standpoint.
I think it's one of those things. I don't know. I'll be interested
to
see.
Big deal.
When Trey Norwood comes back, that's going to be really interesting to see exactly what they do, because you got Buki.
And for all intents and purposes, he is back. I mean, he was kind of working out with the team. This week here in Atlanta.
And you guys saw Bob's photo. I mean, he looks good. Like, I've been critical of him forever for not being able to put on weight, and he's finally starting to put on good weight.
Got to credit Benny Wiley, I'm sure, because that is an obvious change. His body has changed. I wouldn't say dramatically, but he definitely has added some weight.
Watch out for those NCAA drug tests. So anyway, I mean, look, I think we've also witnessed this week. You guys tell me I'm wrong. This is the feeling I'm getting from afar. I think, and Lincoln was very adamant when he was asked about what he said to his team about the suspensions today. I thought that was an interesting answer. But it seems like the team, like it took the fans maybe like 24, 48 hours to kind of move on from like losing Ronnie Perkins, Ramondre. It was the world is burning. I was like, I need to get to Vegas and put $2,000 down on LSU to cover the spread. Like it was just pandemonium, panic. But it seems like even the team, like it took them some time to kind of get, because I did hear like that they were devastated when they first found out about this. But it's almost like you get the sense that the coaches and everyone around them, the way practices have gone, like they now are back to believing that they're going to be just fine without these guys.
I think it goes a lot into what we kind of talked about at the beginning of the pod, just as far as I think, outside of the Oklahoma fan that could think that they are going to beat, whoever, the New England Patriots dynasty, it's like there is not a lot of people that think Oklahoma can hang with LSU. And I think that a little bit of that has to do with just the way that Oklahoma's played over the last 3 years in the college football playoff.
Yeah.
A little bit has to do with just that narrative that is out there. And, I'd be lying if I said that if I just straight up thought Oklahoma's going to win tomorrow. I don't. And
same here.
It's probably more so to do with, I think that they've played with fire a little bit over the last month. They've been, in a sense, I guess you could say, lucky to win a couple of those games, just the way that they've won them. Or on the flip side of that, is this a team that has kind of taken advantage of every break that's given to them?
Well, can you guarantee me that
Jalen?
Can you guarantee me that Jalen Hurts isn't going to have any back-breaking turnovers? Can you?
Exactly.
Sure. Can you guarantee me that?
And we're talking about a game that he's going to have to be the guy that sets this thing apart. Like to win this type of game, Jalen Hurts has to throw the ball well. He has to take care of the ball, and it's like what you said, Kerry. Is he going to do that? That's the biggest question mark.
And can OU turn them over on defense? I think that's got to happen. I mean, again, watching that Ole Miss game, Joe Burrow threw 2 interceptions in the third quarter in that game. I mean, and I think it was on back-to-back possessions. And so it's like, can they come out and make a statement to LSU early? I think that is huge, whether it's on offense or whether it's coming up with a big play on defense, just to let them know, like, this isn't what everybody thought it was going to be. They have to make that statement. Yes, they have to make that statement early in this game.
Yeah.
So what do you do on the coin toss? You want the ball, or you want your defense out there first?
I think you want your defense out there first.
I'm kind of a crazy guy. Like, I like getting the ball in the second half, no matter what, even if you do give up a touchdown early. So I'd say go on defense. But, because I think if you kick the ball off and then all of a sudden you force a 3-and-out, you've won. Like, you've just that small part of the game. You've won that momentum shift. And, the other side of that, though, is Lincoln Riley likes taking the ball first a lot. I don't know how it breaks down, Kerry, over the last
That's a good point,
3 years, but I would say almost 80% of the time, and that might be being generous, Oklahoma usually takes the ball.
I will say this. Okay, I've changed my mind. You've made me change my mind. Here's why I think taking the ball first could be more impactful for Oklahoma. Because if now there's a lot of ifs in this, but if you take the ball first and you shove it down their throats and score, and then their offense comes on the field and you hold them to a 3-and-out, that's where you create the most doubt in their minds. Because you can go out there and hold them to a 3-and-out, and you could go score, but their offense is still coming back out on the field. If you go up 7-0, hold them to 3-and-out, and then get the ball back, that's the first time LSU this season would be like, shit, this isn't going our way. Like their butts would pucker a little bit.
There might be some people in the stands that like that if that happens.
Well, if any OU fans are going to travel.
Yeah, that was another question today. Are Oklahoma fans traveling to this game? It's like, what? I will say, I would think that there will be more LSU fans.
Yeah, for sure.
But who knows? Maybe they're taking the mentality of the opposite approach of, they're going to be right down the road here in a week. which a lot of people here think that's going to happen. Like it's automatically predestined. I know that opinion article at the beginning of the week, should Clyde Edwards-Helaire sit to be healthy for the national championship game? Well, guess what? He hasn't practiced all week. So I don't think that that's even an option. Like the guy is not, it's very obvious. If he plays, it's a Marquise Brown situation from Oklahoma's perspective a year ago in that he's not 100% healthy.
Yeah. Well, look, it's going to be a game of momentum and a game of big swings. And Lincoln talked about that. He always talks about that. That is, playing in this type of game, as big as it is, you're going to have to be able to manage that. And, someone is going to have a momentum swing early. I think we know with Baylor, with Iowa State, with TCU, OU can handle momentum swings.
Right. I'm finally at that point where I'm not waiting for the total collapse if something goes wrong. I finally am at the point where, okay, if something doesn't go their way, they're going to find a way to bounce back. It's not going to be that big of a deal. It's not going to derail the entire game.
By the way, real quick, Midfirst Bank, midfirst.com, go check them out. They are the official provider of the OU Rewards credit card. Go to midfirst.com/U40. That's midfirst.com/U40 and apply right there. You can apply for your OU Rewards credit card, 0% APR for the first 12 months. When you spend $1,000 in the first 90 days, you get a $150 credit. Also enters you for a chance to win the Ultimate VIP package with select purchases. So go check them out, midfirst.com/U40. And thanks to them for being a big part of what we do here with the Unofficial 40 podcast. All right, guys. I know you guys will write in your predictions. I won't, because the last time I did was for Kansas State, and it just went poorly.
Say Jaden Hazelwood's going to have 100 yards. Say it.
We've stopped. He is in his home state. I mean, he's in his.
He is.
He is. I didn't know that his mom had torn her ACL. That's kind of rough. Yep. Just had surgery, and so she's had problems traveling, which is it's good that he's going to get to play. Good that even though Trey Sermon's not playing, he's still been with the team. You saw he and Lincoln kind of joking around a little bit yesterday, but I don't know.
Do we
guys.
want to talk any media day? Talking to the freshmen for the first time?
Yeah, just give some people kind of your impressions of Spencer Rattler and anybody else that you talk to.
Yeah, really. I mean, Spencer Rattler sounded like the quarterback of the future, just the way he handled himself. And he gave a lot of credit to Jalen Hurts in terms of helping him mature on and off the field. And again, you can just tell that camaraderie, that bond that's there with Jaden Hazelwood, Theo Weiss, and Trajan Bridges, and Rattler. And I had a long time to talk with Weiss, and I loved his answer. He's like, when you're sitting behind the best receiver in the country, don't worry, your time is going to come. It seemed like those guys handled this situation better than some of the fans did. And actually, I'll include myself on some of that, sort of waiting for the day when you stop putting in A.D. Miller, or waiting for the day when Nick Basquin is not in nearly as much. And they accepted the fact that, it's just going to take a little bit longer, and that's okay, because they've learned so much throughout this season that it'll have them ready for what's ahead next year. And I think they're obviously a question mark in terms of where Bridges' head might be at this point in time, especially if those suspensions go beyond just this game, as Lincoln Riley wouldn't really address that earlier this week. But, this five-star trio, or, foursome, however you want to say it, these guys are definitely ready. There's no guarantee Rattler wins that job against Tanner Mordecai. I feel very confident about that heading into spring, but it was definitely good to get a chance to get a feel of what these freshmen have been like, and how some of them, you can just tell, definitely handled this situation, just rolled with the punches, whether it's Marcus Stripling or Jaden Davis. And that defense just so young, and you just got to feel that another year of experience, and they're going to just be lights out here. If not in 2020, definitely by 2021.
Now, Theo and Trajan were very close throughout recruiting. Did you have a chance at all to talk to Theo just about how Trajan's been handling all this?
I talked a little bit about it. He said he's just trying to make the best of it. But I think it almost felt like whenever you asked anyone about the suspended players, there was almost like a stock answer that they were
They'd
supposed
been coached
to throw
up
out. Yeah, it was nothing. It didn't feel like you were ever going to get their true thoughts, which is fine, especially in an environment like that. But it's going to be interesting to see how Trajan can bounce back from it, if there's any bouncing back that needs to be done. Because I know I've been on record several times believing that not only would Bridges make the biggest impact in 2019, I thought he would end up being the best out of that entire trio when it's all said and done and their time is up in Norman. And I got to think there's just a huge question mark as to where that stands heading into the spring, at least at this moment.
Bob, I think the thing that was most surprising to me about that five-star trio is just the way that his season has developed and the way that he's been played and not played. I thought there could be some bitterness from Jaden Hazelwood, but he seemed like a guy that was completely at ease with, the way things have gone and what the future holds for him at Oklahoma.
I agree 100%. I absolutely, because we've talked about it a lot, how much he played during the first 5 games of the season.
And some of the things you've seen from him on Twitter and people trying to read into things.
Yep,
and things
trying
like
to
that.
read into it. He doesn't play against Texas. And then, against Kansas State, he lines up incorrectly, forces a timeout to be called. And, and I don't think he's in the doghouse. And it just seems like maybe that was a wake-up call. And instead of being an entitled, 5-star little brat, maybe he accepted the coaching and the criticism and he's ready to put in the work, because he did not seem down at all about the season. Did he want to do more? Of course he did, but he didn't seem like he was mistreated or that this was a waste of a year. And I think that's got to be an encouraging sign, because he was the one that didn't feel connected, right? It was Rattler, it was Bridges, and it was Weiss, and it was
and
Stallman.
even at the 5-star last year, they weren't all chummy and stuff.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Right, because you still thought he was going to Georgia. You thought, okay, OU's there, they're in the top 3, but he's not going to be in Norman. And so if anyone had the easy way out, if they didn't like what was going on, it was Jaden, and it just doesn't seem like that's going to be an issue.
Now, did you get a chance to make your? I know it's hard because there's
it was.
You got so many people, and did you have a chance at all to make your way over to any of the young offensive linemen?
I talked to Tank Alexander. Sorry, I always call him Tank to the Twitter. Marcus Alexander. That's the one that I talked to the most. We did have someone talk with Stacy Wilkins too, and you can tell that just from talking to Marcus and reading what Stacy said, it's just clear those guys have full trust in whatever Beatenbow is telling them to do. If this is what he believes is best, you got a red shirt or you got to do this and that, they absolutely are all in and like, yep, you got it. You can't dispute the results that have been there. And then you look at what he's able to do with a young line like this one from this year that you had no clue how Marquise Hayes and Tyrese Robinson, Adrian Ely, how any of that was going to come together. And it's just more proof that, okay, if this is what Bill thinks is best, we've got to listen. And if we listen, it's going to take us very, very far.
The other thing I think I took out of yesterday is Trey Brown was not afraid to talk about being named in the suspensions, and he was still kind of pissed about it.
He should be. I mean, because it wasn't like he was thrown out there once. He was connected to it for a long time. We felt like we had discredited solidly at least once, but we needed to do it a second and third time because his name kept coming back. And I don't know how that happens, but I'm sure, the way his name just got dragged through the mud, he's got every right to be furious. And I'm not saying it's going to be that's why he might leave early, because Trey Brown's actually shown his displeasure with the way that some of the OU fans have gone at him throughout this year. But I don't think that's going to be a reason as to why he stays or why he might leave for the NFL. I don't think he should leave, but when you've got speed like him, you could always just kind of take that chance. But, it was good to finally talk to him, too, about the play that he made against Baylor. Because, even those three weeks later, that play just resonates so much as to everything that Alex Grinch has been preaching about, straining to the ball and never giving up and making the hustle play. And it just turned out to be, arguably the biggest play of the entire game.
So tomorrow, 3 o'clock, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, otherwise known as the College Football Playoff Semifinal. We're going to find out. LSU versus Oklahoma. We will be out there bright and early. Bob will be handling things up in the press box. Eddie will be handling things down on the field. But it should be a really good day at Sooner Scoop. And you got, of course, Oklahoma State and Texas A&M coming up today as well. Just over the next 24 hours, it's going to be very exciting. We'll have all of, some new stuff for you on Sooner Scoop with all our video stuff that we're doing right now. That's, I think, gone really well this week, better than I could have hoped. So we've enjoyed being able to bring you guys more stuff live and in person, give you a little bit better idea how some of this stuff even works, like Media Day yesterday. So make sure you get tuned in for that. Sign up at Soonerscoop.com if you want to partake in all that. And when I say, what we'll be doing tomorrow, kind of if you're sitting at home, not everything is televised. So when players start coming out of the locker room doing stretches, as we talked about, some of the jawing that might go back and forth, we're going to have all that stuff live for you guys to check out. It should be really cool. So
yeah, you've already talked about, but we'll be allowed until 45 minutes before kickoff.
Right.
And that's when we will have to go back upstairs.
Right. So all the way up until 45 minutes, and then I'm sure, the ESPN's going to have their mega cast and all that stuff. We're not saying that, what we're going to do is going to keep you from watching ESPN. You'll definitely have to turn it on to catch it. But I'm sure on the mega cast and all that stuff, they'll take over and start showing you what's going on in the pregame. Of course, Bob will be up in the press box, keeping you all advised on what he's seeing, if anybody's gimpy or anything like that, leading up to kickoffs, which we do each and every game. So, and then I'll be back here helping out with social along with Bob and Eddie, and just want to stay tuned in to Sooner Scoop because we'll be all over this thing tomorrow, hours even before the game kicks off. So I will say you guys do get to enjoy one of the great pleasures in life, which is the police escort to the stadium tomorrow.
Yes. To be fair, this is a short trip.
Yeah, it is.
This is like
because you're right by Mercedes-Benz.
Yes. So I was like doing the post-game pod. It's like, yeah, we could work from the Benz and then just come back here because it's only going to be like 5 minutes later than what it would be if we came here first.
Well, I guess Eddie had to go do some radio stuff, so we'll let him be. And Bob's got some FaceTiming to do, I'm sure. But happy birthday, Bob.
Thank you very much.
Even though you didn't wish me happy birthday, that's fine, though. Or Josh or Eddie, that's fine. I'm not bitter at all.
We're never going to live it down.
I'm not bitter at all. All right, well, thanks, everybody, for tuning in with us. It's been a great week. Thanks to Bob, who's done great work down there, as always. Thanks to Eddie as well. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
There he is. Yeah. You weren't here, Eddie.
I forgot. I completely forgot that I agreed to do this thing with an Atlantis show. So not even a paying entity. You dicked us over for a. He sounded like a good guy though.
He got the Scoop brand out there.
I'm
trying to grow the brand. I'm growing the
in Atlanta.
Brand.
Yeah, we're gonna pick up a lot of subscribers off of that appearance. I'm telling you.
They said that it's the Hazelwood's favorite radio station. Okay.
You think the Hazelwoods don't already know about Sooner Scoop? My Lord.
Maybe.
All right. Well, we're done. We said we were going to do a 30-minute pod. We're almost an hour, so I don't want to spend the rest of my day. I've got a photo gallery from Bob coming up later today as well, so check that out on the side. He actually took really good pictures this time. So
it's a great. I think any Oklahoma fan that's coming in is
it's such a great venue.
Really like Mercedes-Benz.
It's really weird going to a place that you've been to several times too, because it just feels like home. And then you're like, but OU is playing here now. And it's like not a soccer stadium set up this week. Like,
it's very strange.
Yeah. Because we're so familiar with it.
It's going to be good.
Yeah, all right.
It's gonna be fun,
by the way, did you come up with a name for the Theo Weiss versus Derek Stingley package before we get out of here?
No, I haven't. I mean, I don't know. I need to find that GIF. I know that I have it on my computer somewhere.
Is it just a repeated bludgeoning of catch after catch on Stingley?
It was a fun little matchup. I think that we have, they went up against each other
multiple times.
Well, remember, and after that happened, it was like, Weiss just decided, okay, 5 stars over for me. I'm going to go play defense.
Oh, no, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yep.
He's like, I dominated I dominated the number 1 player in the country. That's all I came here to do. I'm going to go dick around for the rest of this camp.
I love it.
And he went and played corner. Yeah.
Him and Bridges.
No, Bridges didn't. Remember, he busted his ass because he won MVP.
Yes.
Did he?
Oh, yeah.
Shit.
Yep.
All right. Never mind.
All right. Well, Eddie, I thanked you for your work earlier. Josh, this is going to drive Josh crazy because he's going to be listening to this and mad that he wasn't on the pod at all this week. That's fine. No bonuses for you, Josh.
He can dial in on the post game. We'll either be talking about an Oklahoma win or an Oklahoma loss. I can guarantee you
4
that.
whiskeys
How
in
about
by
that?
then.
Thanks, Eddie.
I can guarantee you Oklahoma's either going to win or they're going to lose on on Saturday.
You know what? I don't think you're funny, Radosevich. I know you think you're funny.
Not laughing. Not laughing.
Your stupid tweets all the time. We don't need sarcasm right now.
Sure.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, listeners. We appreciate it. Thank you, Midfirst Bank. Remember, midfirst.com/U40. Go sign up, apply for that credit card. And we appreciate them being a sponsor of the program. So thanks, guys, for all your coverage. Looking forward to the pregame coverage and the postgame coverage tomorrow. We hope for your sake that it is an OU win. I am waiting to deposit my paycheck until I find out whether it's a win or a loss, so I know how much money needs to be in the account. So that's where we are there. We didn't have to place any bets this year. I just either am getting a normal paycheck or a much smaller one. So there we go. I'll pay for it. I don't mind.
I could make an argument either way. I don't know which way I'm going to go. I'm about to write my prediction for the board.
I do think OU's going to cover.
I don't know which way.
I think OU's going to cover
Same. Yes.
the 13.5 or whatever it is right now. It was 13.5 this morning, early. So I think it's going to be a close game. But I don't
just
know
can't
if
allow
OU
myself
can win.
to think. I'm still a little bit in shock that this team is 60 minutes away from playing in a national championship game.
If LSU really does believe, like some of their players, like Queen said, if they believe that they're going to come in and dominate this game, if they really do believe that, they're in trouble. Because they haven't faced any adversity this year. I think that's a
very underlying storyline going into tomorrow as far as Oklahoma. It wasn't pretty, but the way that they won those games in November, that builds something in a team. And I remember we talked about that at the time.
No, look, they're in trouble if they really, as a team, are coming into this thing thinking they're going to blow Oklahoma out, because it ain't happening. It's just not happening. This is not the same team and the same defense that played Alabama last year. It's not. And even that team, you can't really say they lost by 11. They made a run at it. It was just too big a deficit to overcome. So it's going to be really interesting. I really am going to be interested in their mindset, because I do think Oklahoma's going to be good to go. I don't think Oklahoma's coming in this thing like, can we do it? Do you think we can do it? I don't think they're coming in like that. So
I agree.
That's my 2 cents. We don't have to say win or lose, but does everyone else does anybody think LSU wins this game big?
I haven't come across anybody that just thinks it's going to be a blowout. I know that
Hurts has a couple turnovers.
Yeah, and I think that changes things.
I would say if Hurts comes out and throws 2 picks deep in OU's territory, then LSU
you can't recover from that kind of stuff, and that's just it's going to be a major question mark going into tomorrow. I'm excited for it. I'm genuinely excited to see what this group can bring to the table and what Lincoln Riley, what Alex Grinch have planned for an LSU team that, if you listen to some people talk about them, there's people that think that this is the best LSU team of all time
ever. Yes, the reverence.
Yeah, I think I think we're at the height of SEC hubris right now. I really do.
Very well could be.
And
we're right in the heart of it.
Will we see Venom? That's what Venom. Because we've totally made it up out of thin air. And if it
told me that practice went really well yesterday.
Did they also meet their needs in their signing class that they signed a couple weeks ago? Okay.
Source.
We'll see.
Source
Sun's coming up tomorrow too.
All right.
I bet that's in the West.
Thanks, guys. I'm not letting this pod go an hour, so we're done.
All right, we're done.
You guys go enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll get after it again tomorrow. So thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll be back again in the postgame, the Eskridge Lexus postgame. Who knows? We're going to find out. Maybe OU's going to national championship. That would be insane. I hope it happens for all you guys listening. So anyway, for Eddie, for Bob, I'm Kerry Murdoch, and we'll see you guys again in the postgame. Thanks for listening to the Unofficial 40 podcast from SoonersGroup.com.